Welcome to your next SolidWorks transition lesson on sketching, constraints, and parameters, where we'll cover how you can make your designs more manageable before turning them into 3D shapes. With SolidWorks, when first creating a sketch, you will find your sketch features and modifications in the toolbar, as is the case with Fusion. However, Fusion also has constraints, known as relations in SolidWorks, in the toolbar, giving you everything you need in one place. You can easily customize your toolbar by clicking and dragging to move, dragging off the toolbar to remove, or adding by selecting the three dots next to any command in the drop-down and selecting Pin to Toolbar. Also, just take note of the Pin to Shortcut selection, which I'll explain in a second. By pressing S on your keyboard, you can bring up the Shortcut dialog box. This is where your Pin to Shortcut selections are placed for commonly used commands, as you can see with the rectangle command from before. You also have a search function where you can instantly start typing after bringing up the dialog box to find your command. And you can also quickly add it to the shortcuts should you wish. Fusion 360 also provides a pop-up sketch palette that gives you a number of options more related to improving your general workflow and includes setting your construction lines, changing the visibility of certain sketch details, and enabling 3D sketches. I'll now show you the process of creating and constraining a sketch. Before I begin with our base design, I want to create a vertical construction line, so I'll select the line command and place it in the center of our valve body. However, as you can see here, I'm unable to snap to anything as the valve body is a separate component. In this case, I'll use the project command on the top face of our valve body to establish the base of our bonnet, and the result will be a sketch linked to the valve body outside diameter. You can always break this link by right-clicking on the selected line and selecting Break Link. Now I can place the vertical construction line from the toolbar, or by pressing the shortcut L to define the height. Here you can see the lines appear to be regular, so to convert into a construction line, simply press X on the selected line or in the sketch dialog pop-up. Now I can start drawing a basic outline of the shape I'm after with the intent to dimension and constrain later. With Fusion, you don't always have to switch between sketch features when creating your base design. If you create a line and click and drag before releasing it, it will start to form an arc feature, meaning you can create your base outline much more quickly. Regarding constraints, you will also find automatic constraints placed when creating certain sketch features in a certain way, as with SolidWorks. For instance, in this simple sketch here, you can see a perpendicular, parallel, and tangential constraint automatically applied, as indicated by the glyphs. If this constraint is not wanted, you can simply delete the glyph to remove. One quick tip here is if you select two sketch features and right-click, you will only see constraints that are respective to those sketch features, which can help save you some modelling time. Alternatively, you can apply any number of constraints via the toolbar, as well as sketch modifications including fillets and offsets, and dimensions, also known as smart dimensions in SolidWorks, by either selecting the command or the features first, then applying until you have a fully constrained model. Next, we'll take a look at parameters and how you can best apply them to your sketches. If coming from SolidWorks, you may be more accustomed to the terms global variables and linked dimensions. With Fusion, we split ours up into user and model parameters, accessible via the drop-down menu or shortcut command, where user parameters are those which are custom and created by you, and model parameters are automatically created and separated based on the components and their underlying designs. User parameters are particularly useful if you have a known set of specific constraints for the designed features, for instance wall thicknesses, and model parameters for when you want to reference a pre-existing feature and need to establish or change the reference name. These can then be applied to dimensions within your sketch. In line with this, one other useful tool is the Favorites parameter. If you click on the star next to any parameter, it will populate under the Favorites tab. Now, when you go to add or amend a dimension, you can type any character within that reference and a list of favorited options will appear, Note here, you can also add equations from simple to complex to your parameters and use existing dimensions simply by clicking on them, giving you even more control over your design. And finally, when you change a parameter value in the dialog box, you'll see it propagate instantly across the design, meaning you can view the changes without needing to refresh the model. In this video, I went over the typical UI for sketching, constraints, and parameters, and where some of the similarities and differences lie between Fusion 360 and SolidWorks to help with your transition.